Chapter 1. The lie you've been sold. They told you money was hard to make, and that your life was about sacrifice, that you had to grind, sweat, suffer, and claw your way to a paycheck. They told you success was reserved for the lucky ones, the geniuses, the chosen few. That you, unless you were exceptional, would have to settle for just getting by. And worst of all, you believed them. Not because you were foolish. Not because you weren't smart enough to question it. But because everyone around you did. School, media, books, movies, all echoed the same hypnotic chant. Love is hard. Money is hard. So what did you do? You got in line. You worked hard. You pushed. You forced. And yet, somehow, no matter how much effort you gave, real freedom stayed just out of reach. Now, let me ask you something very simple. If money were truly hard to make, how is it that people with no education, no qualifications, no hard work ethic whatsoever, end up with millions? If money were purely the result of effort, why do people working 3 jobs still struggle, while others seem to attract wealth almost passively? Here's the truth they never told you. Money is not hard to make. But it is hard to make when you believe it is. Let that settle in. Read it again if you need to. Because you've been living inside a trance. A collective illusion. A hypnosis passed down from generation to generation, designed to keep you small, obedient, afraid. But that trance can break today. The real problem isn't money. Let's be clear, money is neutral. It's just energy. It moves, it flows. It's neither good nor evil, neither loyal nor cruel. The only thing shaping your experience with money is what you believe about it. If you believe money is scarce, your brain filters the world to match that belief. If you believe money is evil, you unconsciously push it away, even when it tries to come in. If you believe you have to suffer to earn it, then you will suffer. Not because suffering creates wealth, but because your belief demands it. What no one ever taught you is this. You're not struggling with money. You're struggling with your beliefs about money. And once you truly see that, things start to shift. Who does this lie really serve? Think about it. If everyone believes making money is hard, they won't ask for more. They won't dream too big. They'll stay in their place. They'll work jobs they hate just to survive. That belief, the lie, benefits the system. It benefits the machine that feeds off of your obedience and your exhaustion. But it doesn't benefit you. And it never did. The truth is, money is everywhere. Trillions flow through the economy every day. It never runs out. It just flows where it's welcomed. Not where it's forced. Not where it's chased. Where it's welcomed. What happens if you stop believing the lie? Try this. Right now, as you read these words, imagine that none of the struggle was ever real. Imagine the truth is this. Money comes easily to me because I no longer believe in struggle. How does your body feel when you read that? Does a part of you relax? That's not an accident. That's alignment. That's what it feels like when the truth begins to land in your nervous system. Not forced. Not hyped up. Just remembered. Because deep down, you've always known something was wrong with the story you were told. Now you're free to let it go. You're not broken. The belief was. Let's close this chapter with one important message. You're not broken. You're not failing because you're lazy. You're not stuck because you lack discipline. You're stuck because you were hypnotized by a lie. A very convincing one. But the moment you begin to doubt the lie, is the moment it begins to lose its power. The walls crack. The fog starts to lift. And something ancient and powerful inside you starts to wake up. This book will help you let go of every false idea that ever blocked your wealth. Not by motivating you, not by pushing you, but by showing you what was never true in the first place. And when the lie dissolves, the truth will do what it always does. Set you free. It's not that I'm lazy or broken, it's that I've been conditioned by false ideas about money, work, and worth. This chapter will feel like a huge emotional relief. We're not trying to add anything to the reader yet, we're still in the clearing phase, dissolving guilt and shame. Chapter 2. You're not lazy, you're lied to. How many times have you looked at your bank account, or your unfinished ideas, or your daily habits, and thought to yourself, what's wrong with me? You might have blamed yourself. Called yourself lazy, weak, unmotivated, undisciplined, unworthy. And the more you repeated that story, the heavier you felt. The more ashamed, the more stuck. But here's the truth no one ever told you. You are not lazy. You are not broken. You are simply reacting, perfectly, to the conditioning you were given. Let that sink in. Everything you think is wrong with you is actually a sane response to an insane system. You weren't born to struggle. No child is born lazy. Watch any little kid in a sandbox or chasing butterflies. They're electric with energy, curious, alive, joyful. So what happened? You were taught, slowly, consistently, that in order to deserve anything, you had to earn it with suffering. You learned that pleasure was suspicious. That rest was lazy. That doing what you love wouldn't pay the bills. You were trained not by bad people, but by people who were also trained. People who had never questioned the program themselves. That training runs deep. So deep, you mistook it for your personality. But let me say this clearly. Laziness is not your nature. It is a protest, a freeze response, a quiet rebellion against a life that doesn't fit your truth. When the body says, no. When you force yourself into jobs you hate. When you trade your time for money in ways that drain your soul. When you chase goals that don't even feel like yours. Your body knows, and your body resists. That resistance isn't failure. It's wisdom. It's your deeper self saying, not like this, not anymore. It's the friction between the life you've been told to live, and the life your soul actually came here for. What you've called procrastination, or laziness, is often just the refusal to keep betraying yourself. Read that again. What if you're not the problem? What if you were never the problem? What if the game was rigged from the beginning, designed to keep you exhausted, guilty, and too distracted to ever step back and question the rules? What if your lack of motivation is actually a signal that you're meant for something very different? You see, true alignment, the kind that leads to effortless money, joy, and purpose, doesn't come from pushing yourself harder. It comes from removing the blocks, the lies, the shame. It comes from remembering who you were before the conditioning. The soul has no desire to grind. It wants to flow. And when you're in flow, wealth follows. You don't need more discipline, you need more truth. Motivational culture loves to preach about discipline. Wake up at 5 a.m., crush the day. No excuses. But here's a little secret. When you're in alignment, you don't need to force yourself to act. Action happens naturally. You don't need discipline to do what you want to do. You only need discipline to force yourself into something unnatural. And the more unnatural the path, the more energy it takes just to show up. That's why you feel tired. That's why you keep failing at strategies that promise success but don't feel true. You don't need more effort. You need more permission to be who you really are and to let money meet you there. Let's get one thing clear. If you've been stuck, it's not your fault. If you've given up before, it's not your fault. If you've gone years without making progress, it's not your fault. Because how could you run when your legs were tied with invisible ropes? How could you fly when every voice around you said you'd fall? You were not lazy. You were lied to. And now, you're waking up. Right now, you may feel the stirrings of something soft but powerful. A quiet voice saying, maybe I don't have to punish myself anymore. Maybe I've been carrying someone else's beliefs. Maybe I'm allowed to forgive myself. That voice is real. That's you, the real you, coming back online. And that version of you? It's unstoppable. Not because it's perfect, but because it's finally free. In the next chapter, we'll go even deeper. We'll look at the emotional roots of your relationship with money, and uncover what no one ever taught you about the emotional weight you've been carrying. Because if money is energy, what happens when it feels like the enemy? Let's explore that next. Chapter 3. Money is not the enemy. If money were a person, what kind of relationship would you have with it? Would it feel warm and safe, or cold and tense? Would you trust it, or avoid it? Would you welcome it, or resent it? Pause for a second. Be honest. Because this is important. How can you expect money to flow freely into your life if deep down you think it's evil? You were taught to distrust money. It starts early. We hear things like, money doesn't grow on trees. Rich people are greedy. We can't afford that. Filthy rich. The love of money is the root of all evil. Over time, these little messages sink in. You learn, without even realizing it, that money is dangerous. That it corrupts. That people who have a lot must have done something wrong. And the subconscious mind? It listens. It records. It builds beliefs. So even if you want more money, part of you still fears it. or feels guilty for wanting it. That's the inner conflict. Wanting money, but pushing it away. Craving freedom, but associating wealth with guilt. Dreaming of abundance, but subconsciously avoiding it. And here's the truth. You will never allow yourself to have what you secretly believe is bad. Let's clear the air. Money is not evil. Money is not a villain. It doesn't have a personality. It doesn't have morals. It doesn't have intentions. It's just a tool. Money is like a knife. In the hands of a surgeon, it saves lives. In the hands of someone hurt, it can do damage. But we don't blame the knife. So why blame the money? What you see when you look at rich people is not a reflection of money, it's a reflection of people. Some use money to heal. Some use it to harm. But the money itself? It's innocent. Money just amplifies what's already inside a person. If someone's greedy, money gives them more reach. If someone's generous, money gives them more power to serve. So let's stop blaming the mirror. Wealth can be sacred. Think about all the good you could do with money. The lives you could change. The freedom you could feel. The legacy you could build. Wouldn't you trust yourself with wealth? Wouldn't you use it for beauty, truth, joy, and healing? Then why not you? You don't need to earn the right to be wealthy. You don't need to be a saint. You just need to stop believing the lie that wanting more makes you bad. Because it doesn't. Wanting is not greed. It's life itself, moving through you. Desire is how your soul speaks. And money is just one of its languages. What kind of world do you want to live in? Do you want a world where only the corrupt have wealth? Where only those who manipulate and exploit get ahead? Or do you want a world where kind, conscious, awakened people like you have resources? Where artists, healers, visionaries, and teachers have access to abundance? Because if that's the world you want to live in, you must let yourself be part of it. You can't stay poor to prove you're good. You can't shrink to make others comfortable. The world doesn't need more martyrs. It needs more empowered people. And money, in the hands of the right people, can be holy. Try building a new relationship with money. What if money was your friend? Not a boss, not a god, not a demon, just a supportive, loyal friend. Would you ignore it? Would you talk badly about it behind its back? Would you feel ashamed every time it came to visit? Or would you treat it with respect? Would you say, "I'm glad you're here. I've missed you. Let's build something beautiful together"? That's where this book is taking you. Toward a clean, safe, loving relationship with money. No guilt, no fear, no baggage, just truth. In case no one told you, you're allowed to be wealthy. You're allowed to enjoy luxury, freedom, ease, and flow. You're allowed to make more than enough and still be a good person. You're allowed to love money without worshiping it. Because money is not your master. It's not your enemy. It's just energy. And it wants to work with you. Chapter 4. Wealth is a frequency. Let's get right to it. Wealth is not something you chase. It's something you tune into. Think of money like a radio station. It's broadcasting all the time. It's not hiding. It's not waiting. It's there, vibrating at a specific frequency, one that most people simply never learn how to hear. Instead, they try harder, work longer, push more, but no matter how much they do, nothing changes. Because they're on the wrong channel. You can't hear jazz on a rock station. You can't hear abundance on the frequency of fear. You've been tuned to scarcity. Most of the world is stuck on the scarcity dial. It sounds like, there's not enough. I need to hold on to every penny. I can't afford that. What if it all disappears? If I don't suffer, I don't deserve. It doesn't matter how much money you make while you're tuned to this channel. It will always feel like it's not enough. Because the frequency of scarcity isn't about reality. It's about identity. And as long as your identity is wired for struggle, wealth will feel distant, even if it's all around you. The truth about frequencies. Everything in life is energy. Science tells us that. Spirituality agrees. Thoughts are energy. Emotions are energy. Money is energy. And energy moves in patterns, frequencies, just like music. Scarcity has a frequency. So does abundance. So does freedom, fear, joy, guilt, gratitude. And here's the key. You attract what matches your dominant frequency. If you feel broke, needy, afraid, you emit that signal. And the world responds in kind. If you feel open, safe, abundant, you emit that. And money begins to move toward you, almost on its own. But what about hard work? Now, you might be wondering, so are you saying I don't have to work? No, you can still work. You can still create, serve, build, share. But the energy you do it from matters more than the task itself. When you're in the right frequency, work feels different. It feels light, joyful, magnetic. Ideas flow. People show up. Synchronicities happen. You're no longer rowing upstream, you're sailing with the wind. And you're no longer driven by fear. You're guided by flow. True wealth begins when you stop acting from survival and start moving from alignment. You can't fake frequency. Here's something important. You can't fake this. You can't just chant, "I'm abundant," 100 times and expect magic, if your body is still bracing in fear. You can't just paste affirmations on your wall while your nervous system is screaming, "We're not safe." That's why we're not here to fake anything. We're here to shift from the root. This isn't about pretending you're rich. It's about remembering you're powerful. When you remember that, when you feel that truth deep in your bones, your frequency rises. And the world begins to mirror it. Try this. Feel rich now. Close your eyes for a moment, unless you're driving, then keep them open, of course. Now imagine this. You wake up in the morning. You stretch. There's sunlight pouring in. You feel rested. You feel free. You check your phone, no stress. Your bills are paid. Money is flowing in. People are thanking you. Opportunities are landing in your inbox. You feel safe, loved, supported. You walk into your kitchen, coffee, music, time. No rush, no panic, just presence. Now ask yourself, how does this version of me feel? How does this frequency feel in my body? That feeling, that vibration, is the gateway. Hold it for a few seconds longer. Let it sink into your cells. You're not imagining a fantasy. You're tuning the dial. You're learning how wealth actually arrives. The signal is always broadcasting. Here's the best part. You don't have to create the wealth signal. You just have to stop blocking it. The station is always playing. The money is always moving. The universe is always offering more. You just need to match it. And that begins with what you feel, what you believe, and who you're becoming on the inside. When your frequency matches abundance, abundance finds you. It can't help it. That's how energy works. Chapter 5. Alignment over effort. If you just finished the last chapter and still find yourself wondering, but will it really ever feel easy for me to make money? Then go read Chapter 4 again. Because something in you is still holding on to the old story, the one that says you have to suffer, push, and prove yourself just to survive. And that's okay. That belief has been with you for a long time. But here's the truth. The more you try to earn money from a place of fear, the more it runs away. It's not because money is cruel. It's because effort, without alignment, repels the very thing you want. Let me explain. The world taught you to hustle. You've been raised in a culture that worships effort. Grind, sacrifice, hustle, push through, earn your worth. From school to careers to side hustles, the message is clear. If you're not exhausted, you're not doing enough. And what has that gotten most people? Stress, burnout, anxiety, and still, barely enough to feel safe. So here's the radical truth. Effort without alignment is wasted motion. But when you're aligned, truly aligned, action becomes effortless. Flow replaces force. Doors open that hard work could never pry open. What is alignment, really? Alignment means you are internally tuned to the outcome you want. Your mind is clear. Your body is calm. Your actions feel natural, not forced. You're not chasing money, you're attracting it. You're not hustling for validation, you already feel worthy. You're not forcing motivation, you're inspired. It feels like rightness. Like you're walking the path that was always meant for you. And from that place, wealth doesn't just become possible. It becomes inevitable. Why force fails? When you take action from fear, here's what happens. Your nervous system tightens. Your energy closes. You push people away with unconscious signals. You chase short-term wins but repel long-term flow. You work more but receive less. You might still get results, but they won't last. And they'll come at a price. Because underneath it all, you're still trying to earn what you could have simply received. Now read this slowly. Money doesn't come because you suffer. It comes because you allow it. That's the shift. That's the work. But doesn't action still matter? Yes, action matters. But aligned action is not the same as desperate action. Aligned action feels clean, light, even fun. You're not dragging yourself, you're being pulled. Think of an artist in flow. Think of a dancer lost in the rhythm. Think of a child building something for hours with total joy. That's what real work can feel like when it's aligned. You're not escaping effort, you're removing resistance. Big difference. Alignment doesn't make you do less. It makes what you do 100x more effective. The truest work you'll ever do. Here's the irony. The hardest work you'll ever do in your life is letting go of the belief that hard work is the only way. Because that belief has been baked into your nervous system. But you can release it. And when you do, something strange and magical happens. You become magnetic. Ideas come faster. Support shows up. Money flows easier. Not because you've earned it. Because you've finally stopped blocking it. Take a moment to reflect. Take a breath. Ask yourself, where in my life have I been trying to force success? What would it feel like to let it be easy? What would I be doing if I truly trusted that money loves to come to me? You don't need all the answers now. You just need to be open to a new way. A way that honors truth. A way that feels like you. In the next chapter, we'll explore the philosophies that back all of this. Because this isn't just spiritual fluff or personal development talk. It's ancient wisdom. It's real. And it's been whispered for thousands of years. Chapter 6. The Philosophy of Flow. None of this is new. Not alignment. Not ease. Not letting go. These aren't trendy self-help buzzwords. They are ancient truths, spoken by sages, monks, mystics, and philosophers long before we had banks or job titles. This chapter is not about religion. It's about wisdom, the kind that doesn't age. Because the principles that govern abundance have always been here, we just forgot. Lao Tzu said it best. When I let go of what I am, I become what I might be. In Taoist philosophy, the core teaching is Wu Wei, the art of non-doing or effortless action. It doesn't mean doing nothing. It means doing without forcing. The river doesn't try to flow, it flows. The tree doesn't try to grow, it grows. Nature doesn't hustle, and yet it never fails to bloom. Taoism teaches that when we stop resisting life, we align with its current. And that current carries us faster, farther, freer than effort ever could. Sound familiar? It's the same truth we've been speaking. Wealth is not forced. It's allowed. It's received. On the other side of the world, the Stoic philosophers said something similar. Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, wrote in his private journal, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." This wasn't about grinding harder. It was about surrendering to what is, and turning every moment into a stepping stone. The Stoics understood that suffering comes not from what happens, but from our resistance to it. Sound familiar? How much suffering comes from resisting what we are, from believing we should be farther ahead, richer, faster. What if, instead, you could let go of the timeline? Let go of the pressure? Not give up, but flow with life as it is. Because when you stop fighting your path starts working for you. The Buddha taught that the root of suffering is attachment. Not love, not desire, but clinging, gripping, controlling, demanding. When we grasp too tightly, at money, at outcomes, at timing, we choke the very life force that wants to help us. But when we soften, we become available. Buddhism calls this emptiness, not as a void, but as a space where everything can enter. Shunryu Suzuki said, "In the beginner's mind, there are many possibilities. In the expert's, a few. When you're open, flexible, light, you become the kind of person who receives. Because you're not holding on to old fear, old tension, old ideas. You've cleared the space. Now wealth can enter." Even Jesus talked about it in the Bible. He said, "Consider the lilies of the field, how they grow. They toil not, neither do they spin. Yet I say unto you, even Solomon in all his glory was not arrayed like one of these." Matthew chapter 6 verses 28 to 29. This isn't a verse about flowers. It's a verse about trust. Jesus was pointing to the truth that nature, when left alone, thrives. Without toil, without panic, without lack. So why do we believe we must suffer to be provided for? Why not us? If the universe feeds the birds, do you really think it forgot about you? Flow is not passivity. Let's be clear. This isn't about sitting around hoping the universe drops gold on your lap. Flow is not laziness. Flow is about moving with right timing, right energy, and clear intention. You still show up. You still act, but you're not driven by fear anymore. You don't chase, you attract. You don't force, you respond. You don't grab, you receive. And the results are better than anything you could have planned. Because when you're in flow, you're not working alone anymore. You're dancing with something much bigger than you. You don't have to understand it. You just have to trust it. The ancient sages didn't have spreadsheets. They didn't have YouTube. They didn't read manifestation books. But they knew something deeper. Life supports life. Flow follows surrender. And wealth follows trust. You don't have to be perfect. You don't have to get it all right. You just have to soften. Let go of gripping. Let go of panicking. Let go of controlling every step. Because when you do, something powerful moves toward you. Something intelligent, loving, real, and it has money in its hands. Chapter 7. Desire is divine. Let's start with the truth. You are allowed to want more. More money, more ease, more beauty, more freedom, more than you've ever had before. Not because you earned it. Not because you proved yourself. But simply because you exist. The war against wanting. Most of us were raised to mistrust desire. We were told, be grateful for what you have. Don't be greedy. Stop dreaming so big. You already have enough. Don't ask for more. So we learned to tone it down. We shrank our visions. We tamed our excitement. We pretended to be satisfied with crumbs, even when we were starving inside. And over time, we confused desire with selfishness. But hear this clearly. Desire is not greed. Greed is taking from fear. Desire is reaching from love. Desire is life speaking through you. A flower doesn't bloom halfway and say, "This is enough. I don't want to seem selfish." The ocean doesn't apologize for its waves. The stars don't dim themselves for comfort. So why should you? Desire is not a flaw, it's the fuel of evolution. It's what moves the seed to become a tree. It's what pulls ideas into form, dreams into reality, visions into the world. Your desire is sacred. It's how life expands through you. And when you deny your desires, you deny life itself. Money wants you to want it. This may sound strange, but let it in. Money wants to be wanted. Not from neediness, not from desperation, but from clarity. Money, like energy, responds to openness. And desire is how you open the door. When you say, "I'm ready to hold more. I'm willing to receive more." Money hears that. But when you say, "I don't need anything. I'll just settle. I'll keep my wants small." Money respects that too, and stays away. Desire isn't the problem. Shame is. Reclaim your right to wanting. Let's make something very clear. You are allowed to want to be rich. You are allowed to want luxury. You are allowed to want time freedom. You are allowed to want the beautiful house, the vacations, the overflowing bank account. You are allowed to want everything. Not from a place of not enough, but from a place of joyful expansion. This isn't about proving anything. This isn't about ego. This is about alignment. If something excites you, it's already yours in potential. Desire is your inner compass. It doesn't lie. What if you're not asking for too much? What if you've actually been asking for too little? What if your life is meant to overflow? What if the version of you that dreams big and feels chills when you imagine it is more real than the version settling for less? Most people don't struggle because they want too much. They struggle because they're afraid to want honestly. But here's what changes everything. When you say yes to your truest desires, the universe begins to rearrange itself in your favor. Now ask yourself, with no filters, no shame, what do I really want? Let the answers rise, even if they seem too big, even if they scare you, even if you were taught that it's unspiritual to want them. What if the truth is this? The only reason you haven't received what you want is because you've been afraid to want it fully. But not anymore. You don't have to be humble to be good. You don't have to be small to be spiritual. You don't have to be quiet to be deserving. You just have to be honest. Let your desire lead the way. This book is not about controlling life. It's about allowing life to move through you, as you, abundantly. And desire is how it begins. So from now on, no more shrinking. No more apologizing for wanting more. No more pretending your dreams are too much. Because you're not too much. You're just finally being honest. Chapter 8. Your unconscious is in control. You may think you're the one making decisions about money. You may believe you're choosing your habits, your income, your future. But let me tell you something both terrifying and liberating. You are not in charge. At least, not yet. Because until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you'll call it fate. Imagine your mind as an iceberg. The tiny tip sticking out of the water? That's your conscious mind, logic, willpower, rational thinking. But underneath? A massive structure invisible to the eye, your unconscious mind. This is where your real beliefs live. This is where your identity hides. This is what controls your feelings, behaviors, and automatic reactions. So when you say, I want to be rich, but deep down your unconscious says, money is unsafe, I don't deserve it, wealth will isolate me, guess who wins? The unconscious. Every time. It's not your fault. If you've struggled with money your whole life, if you've sabotaged every opportunity, if you've made it, then lost it, over and over again, it's not because you're weak. It's not because you lack willpower. It's because your unconscious mind has been programmed to protect you from wealth. And it's doing a very good job. Because for years, you were fed messages like, rich people are bad, money causes pain, having too much makes others suffer. Success means losing love. You didn't choose those beliefs. They were absorbed, inherited, installed. But now that you're aware of them, you can uninstall them. Your life is a mirror. The outside world isn't random. It's a reflection. It mirrors your unconscious state. If you've always felt not enough, you'll attract situations that echo that. If you carry guilt around wanting more, you'll unconsciously block yourself from receiving. If you feel unworthy of ease, you'll create chaos just to earn your comfort. That's not fate. That's the unconscious running its script. But here's the gift. You can rewrite the script. The moment you shift the pattern inside, the mirror outside has no choice but to change. So how do you rewire the unconscious? Not through logic, not through effort, not even through information. You rewire it through repetition of truth, emotionally charged belief, imagery, what you see inside your mind, somatic shifts, what you feel in your body. That's why this book speaks to you in rhythm, emotion, and energy. We're not just giving you ideas, we're installing new programs. Right now, without you realizing it, a new pattern is already forming. A pattern where money feels safe, receiving is normal, you feel worthy of more. And soon, your unconscious will start to agree. Don't try to fix the unconscious. Talk to it. Your unconscious mind is like a child. It's sensitive, impressionable, literal. You don't fix it, you reparent it. You tell it, it's safe to be rich. I'm allowed to have more. Nothing bad will happen if I succeed. I choose ease now. At first, it might not believe you. But keep speaking, keep showing, keep softening. Eventually, it will say, okay, let's try something new. This is how you take back control. You don't need to fight your unconscious. You just need to make it your ally. Because when your inner world starts saying, I love money, I feel safe with money, I expect money, the world has no choice but to mirror that back. And then, you become one of those people. The ones who seem to attract opportunities out of nowhere. The ones who always land on their feet. The ones whose luck makes no logical sense. It's not luck. It's alignment. It's unconscious reprogramming. It's power. Chapter 9. The Illusion of Lack. Look around you. There's more water in the oceans than we could drink in 1,000 lifetimes. More air than we could ever breathe. More trees, more light, more stars, more space. The universe has never known lack. So where did you learn it? Lack is a thought, not a law. Scarcity isn't real. It's not a law of nature. It's a belief, a lens, a collective dream. And like all dreams, it can feel so real, you forget you're dreaming. But once you wake up, you realize something breathtaking, greater than there was always more. You just didn't see it. You weren't born afraid of not having enough. You didn't enter this world worrying about bills, budgets, or whether there'd be enough left for you. You were taught to worry, taught to compete, taught to hoard. You were shown a world that said, not everyone can have what they want. There's only so much to go around. If someone wins, someone else loses. But none of that was true. Because abundance isn't taken from others. It's created from within. The universe doesn't divide, it multiplies. Scarcity lives in the nervous system. Lack isn't just an idea in your head, it's a tension in your body. It's the tightening when you spend. The hesitation when you receive. The low-level panic that hums beneath your every money decision. And the cruelest part? You can be surrounded by opportunity and still feel poor. Because when your nervous system is tuned to not enough, you can't see the feast in front of you. But the good news is, you can change your inner signal. You can tune out of lack and into plenty. What does enough feel like? Imagine this. You wake up tomorrow and know, with every fiber of your being, that there will always be more than enough. Enough time, enough love, enough money, enough everything. You don't need to rush. You don't need to grab. You don't need to worry. It's all coming. It's always coming. Now pause. How does that feel in your body? Can you feel the difference? The softness? The safety? That's not fantasy. That's your natural state. Everything else was programming. A note on real-world suffering. Now, you might be thinking, if abundance is everywhere, why are there people starving? What about war zones? What about Gaza? What about real, undeniable poverty? And you're right to ask that. There is real suffering. There are places where access to food, water, shelter, and safety has been violently stripped away. There are people whose lives are shaped by systems of control, oppression, and trauma, not by mindset alone. So let's be clear. To say, lack is an illusion, is not to deny suffering. It's to reveal that suffering was never the plan of nature. It was the result of human systems built on fear, control, and disconnection. There is no spiritual virtue in pretending injustice doesn't exist. But we can still say, the earth has more than enough food. The technology exists to feed and clothe and shelter every single person on the planet. There is enough. There always has been. So when we talk about the illusion of lack, we are not blaming the poor. We're pointing to the collective programming, the fear-based systems that hoard, that divide, that create artificial scarcity in a world of natural abundance. And the more of us who break that illusion in our own lives, the more power we have to dismantle it in the world. Let go of the scarcity spell. Right now, you're holding a story that was never yours. A story of struggle. A story of limitation. A story that says, don't ask for too much. Don't expect too much. Don't want too much. But what happens when you put that story down? What happens when you whisper to yourself, I live in an abundant world. There is always more coming. I do not take from others by receiving fully. My wealth helps expand the whole. Can you feel that spell begin to break? The truth beneath the illusion. Here is what's real. There is no shortage of money. There is no limit on ideas. There is no cap on creativity, joy, or impact. There is no law that says you must stay small so others can have enough. In fact, the more you thrive, the more others remember it's possible for them too. That's the kind of abundance that ripples. Let this sink in. You never had to fight for crumbs. You never had to beg for what already belongs to you. The illusion told you it was noble to suffer. But the truth is, it's divine to receive. You were not born to just survive. You were born to overflow. Chapter 10. Getting paid for being you. What if you never had to pretend again? What if you didn't need a script, a persona, a resume, or a role to earn money? What if you could be exactly who you are, flaws, quirks, softness, fire, soul and all, and still be deeply, abundantly paid? Sound unrealistic? That's only because you've been taught the opposite your whole life. The old lie and becoming what the world wants. You see, from the beginning, you were trained to fit in. Be professional, be productive, be likable, be safe, and maybe somewhere along the way, you started to believe that being you wasn't quite enough. That to succeed, you had to edit, polish, shape, conform. So you squeezed yourself into roles. Smiled when you wanted to scream. Agreed when you disagreed. Worked jobs that made your soul shrink. All to chase a kind of worth that was always just out of reach. But what if you're the product? What if the real gold isn't in who you pretend to be, but in who you already are, when no one's watching? The way your mind works. The way you solve problems. The way you see beauty in things others miss. The quiet gifts that feel so normal to you. They are extraordinary to someone else. The world doesn't need another copy of someone else's version of success. It needs you, fully you. Authenticity isn't just a spiritual idea. It's a financial strategy, and it's one that never burns you out because it doesn't cost you yourself. So, what people really pay for? People don't pay for perfection. They don't pay for resumes. They don't even pay for talent alone. They pay for resonance, connection, energy, truth. People pay when they feel something real. And real is what you already are. You don't need to learn how to perform. You need to unlearn the habit of hiding. Because here's the beautiful twist. The more you become, the more wealth you attract. You are the brand. This isn't just for entrepreneurs or creatives. Even in jobs, careers, relationships, you are the magnet. You are the experience. Your energy enters the room before your words. And the clearer your essence, the more the world says, yes, that's the one I want to work with, follow, hire, collaborate with. No one else can compete with you at being you. And that's your greatest leverage. Try this, your soul's resume. Forget titles. Forget roles. Ask yourself, what do people thank me for without me trying? What do I do naturally that others find hard? What would I do for free, that others would happily pay for? Who am I when I'm not trying to prove anything? That's your value. That's your offering. That's your wealth. Getting paid is a mirror. Money is just a reflection. It reflects how much you've allowed yourself to be seen. When you show up as a role, you're competing. When you show up as you, you're remembered. And people don't forget how you made them feel. How you being yourself gave them permission to be themselves too. That's priceless. That's power. That's profit. This is what abundance looks like. Abundance isn't working yourself into someone else's mold. It's waking up and realizing, I don't need to become something else to succeed. I just need to become more of myself. That's where the ease comes in. That's where the flow begins. That's where the money starts to feel natural, like breathing. Because you're no longer chasing wealth. You're being it. Chapter 11. The Illusion of Hard Work. Let's pause here and ask the obvious. If hard work really created wealth, wouldn't the janitors, nurses, factory workers, and single moms be the richest people on earth? Wouldn't the men breaking their backs in the sun, and the women juggling 3 jobs just to feed their children, already have financial freedom? But they don't. Why? Because hard work does not equal wealth. And it never did. What you were taught was never true. You were taught to worship labor, to sweat, to sacrifice, to believe that the more pain you endure, the more worthy you become. You were told, keep your head down, work hard and you'll be rewarded. Don't expect it to be easy. But look around. The people making millions are not the ones sweating the most. They're the ones with aligned ideas, powerful energy, and the courage to receive. Hard work has its place, but it's not the source of abundance. So what actually creates wealth? Let's be honest. Most wealth is created by leverage, energy, vision, value, alignment. People get paid when their energy is magnetic, when their idea solves a problem, when their offer hits a need, when their soul is fully behind what they're doing. That's not hard work. That's smart energy. That's clean creation. Hard work is often just resistance in disguise. Ever wonder why your most productive days often leave you drained, but your most aligned days leave you glowing? That's because struggle is often just misalignment. When you're fighting upstream, you're not moving forward, you're surviving. That's not noble. That's exhausting. You were not put on earth to prove your worth through fatigue. You were not born to earn love, respect, or money by running yourself into the ground. You were born to flow. And when you flow, you grow. Why we cling to the grind? Hard work is addictive because it makes you feel in control. It gives you the illusion of effort equals progress. And on some level, you think, if I just keep pushing, I'll get there. But the truth is, if you're on the wrong path, working harder only gets you lost faster. It takes courage to slow down, to feel, to listen, to ask, is this actually working? But that's where real wealth begins. Not in motion, but in awareness. You are allowed to let it be easy. Read this slowly. Money can come easily. Opportunities can come suddenly. You can be paid for what feels like play. You don't have to earn it the hard way. You just have to stop believing the lie that you must suffer first. Ease isn't laziness. Ease is intelligence. Ease is spiritual maturity. Ease is knowing, I'm allowed to succeed without pain. And when you finally believe that, you'll stop creating struggle just to feel worthy. What if it's not supposed to be hard? What if the entire work hard story was just a test? A distraction? A trap? What if the truth is this? You don't need to push to get rich. You need to align, allow, and receive. What if rest isn't a reward after you succeed? It's a prerequisite for success? The more you soften, the more you allow. The more you allow, the more flows in. And the more flows in, the more you realize. Hard was never the path. Easy was just the path you never trusted. Chapter 12. You are already worthy. Somewhere along the way, you were taught to believe that love had to be earned. That goodness had to be proven. That value had to be demonstrated. That worth was something outside of you, something you had to chase. So you did. You tried to be enough. You tried to succeed your way into safety. You tried to do everything right so that finally, someone, something, maybe even money, would say, "Okay, you can have it now. You deserve it." But that voice never came. Because the person you were waiting for was always you. You've been living as if worth is a paycheck. As if life is handing it out based on performance. But what if it's not? What if worth is not a reward for good behavior, but a birthright? What if you can't become worthy, because you already are? Let that idea break something open in you. Let it sink past your mind and into your nervous system. Because until you accept your worth, you'll keep trying to buy it with your time, your energy, and your soul. Here's the hard truth. If you don't feel worthy of receiving, you won't. Even if the opportunity is right there. Even if the offer is made. Even if the door is open. You'll pull back. You'll delay. You'll sabotage. You'll undercharge. You'll apologize for asking. You'll unconsciously prove the old story. I don't deserve this. That's not because you're broken. It's because you've been hypnotized. But now you're waking up. There's nothing to prove. You don't have to prove your worth by being good, or spiritual, or productive, or humble, or grateful to the point of starvation. You don't have to trade your peace for money. You don't have to shrink to be acceptable. You are not being tested. There is no judge watching to see if you're ready yet. There's only you, and life, and this moment, and the question, what would change if I fully believed I was worthy right now? Worthiness sounds like this. Let these words speak to the part of you that's tired of chasing. I am already enough. I do not need to earn what's mine. It's safe to receive. It's safe to shine. It's safe to want more. I didn't come here to suffer. I came here to overflow. Repeat them if you like. Whisper them. Write them. Because the more you hear them, the more your body begins to believe them. And when your body believes it, your world reflects it. You've spent years trying to fix what was never broken. You looked outside yourself for the feeling that only comes from within. But you don't need one more technique, one more book, one more goal, one more level up. You just need to remember. You were already enough before the world told you otherwise. And the moment you reclaim that, money responds, not because you forced it, but because now, you can finally allow it in. Chapter 13. The Mirror of Money. Look at your bank account. Not with fear, not with judgment, not with guilt. Just look. Whatever's there, or not there, is not a punishment. It's not a failure. It's not a verdict on your value. It's a mirror. Money is always reflecting what you believe is true about you. Money doesn't have an opinion. It doesn't love you. It doesn't hate you. It doesn't care who you are. It simply responds to your energy, your identity, your expectations, your self-concept. If deep down you believe, I'm not good with money, then money will mirror that. If you expect it to disappear, it does. If you secretly feel uncomfortable receiving, you repel opportunities without even realizing it. But if you believe, I am worthy, I am safe, I am open to more, money reflects that too. Every single time. Your financial life is an echo. Think of your finances not as a cause, but as an effect. They are an echo of the way you talk to yourself, see yourself, trust yourself, value yourself. They are the echo of your inner world. And the more you upgrade your inner world, the more that echo changes. When your self-concept shifts, your income can't help but follow. Because the mirror always updates. This isn't about blame. Let's be gentle here. If your finances haven't reflected what you wanted, that doesn't mean you're wrong, or bad, or that you manifested lack. It simply means you were carrying beliefs you didn't know you had. Beliefs that weren't yours. Beliefs you inherited, absorbed, internalized. And now, with awareness, you get to change them. This is not blame. It's power. Because once you realize the mirror was reflecting you all along, you stop trying to change the reflection, and start shifting the source. What do you see in the mirror? Ask yourself. When I think about money, what emotion comes up first? Do I believe I'm someone who naturally receives? Do I see myself as valuable, resourceful, respected? Do I feel safe having more? These answers aren't right or wrong. They're clues. They show you where the mirror is pointed, and what it's showing back. The mirror can only reflect you. You've tried changing strategies. You've tried working harder. You've tried being better. But nothing sticks unless you change the image you're holding of yourself. Because the outer world is always catching up to the inner one. You don't get what you want. You get what you believe you are. That's why affirmations only work when they reach identity. That's why abundance isn't a mindset, it's a mirror. And it reflects whatever you're radiating. Try this. Shift the reflection. Close your eyes. Now imagine the most magnetic, abundant version of you. How do they walk into a room? How do they speak? How do they charge for their work? How do they feel when money comes in? Let yourself see it clearly. Now, become that version. Not perfectly, not instantly, just lean into it. Speak as them, act as them, make choices as if you already were them. And watch how the mirror changes. You've been the key all along. The power has never been in money. It's been in your reflection. You don't need to beg the mirror to change. You just need to stand differently in front of it. And when you do, the image changes, the world changes, the money changes, because it was never about the mirror. It was always about you. Chapter 14. Reclaiming Power from the System. Have you ever wondered why schools never taught you how money really works? Why no one explained credit, investing, or wealth building, yet everyone seemed obsessed with getting a job? Why millions of people work full-time and still live paycheck to paycheck? It's not an accident. It's not a glitch. It's a system. And that system was never built for your freedom. The design of dependence. From a young age, you were taught how to obey authority, memorize and repeat, trade time for permission, follow rules, stay in line, wait your turn. But were you ever taught how to think freely about money? To build wealth? To question the structure? No, because the system doesn't want creators. It wants workers. It doesn't want sovereign souls. It wants predictable, compliant labor. The less you know about money, the more power you give to those who control it. And if they can convince you that struggle is noble, you'll never ask why you're struggling in the first place. This is not a conspiracy. It's a business model. The financial system, banks, debt, wage labor, inflation, is not evil. But it is designed to benefit the top. You work, you get taxed, you spend, you borrow, you stay just behind where you want to be. Meanwhile, money you could have invested is extracted. Your energy fuels someone else's machine. And the kicker? You're made to believe it's your fault. That if you just worked harder, got another degree, tried another side hustle, you'd be free. But freedom doesn't come from working harder inside a broken model. It comes from waking up and stepping outside it. Awareness is liberation. This chapter isn't here to make you afraid. It's here to help you reclaim power by seeing the truth. Because when you see that the game was never built for your success, you stop blaming yourself for not winning it. You stop asking, what's wrong with me? And start asking, why am I playing by these rules at all? And that moment, when you reclaim your mind, is the beginning of your wealth. True freedom is ownership. Real wealth isn't just money. It's ownership. Ownership of your time, your choices, your energy, your mind, your income streams. And the system doesn't teach ownership, because ownership breeds sovereignty. So now, you take that back. You begin thinking like the wealthy. You invest instead of consume. You build instead of beg. You circulate instead of hoard. You create value instead of trading time for scraps. You become your own economy. And the system? It no longer owns you. The wealthy don't play the same game. Have you noticed? The truly wealthy don't grind. They don't clock in. They don't beg for raises. They don't worry about what the news says. Why? Because they own things, assets, ideas, businesses, systems. They understand the rules and play by a different set. But here's what they don't tell you. You can learn those rules too. You can stop playing small. You can build something that works for you. The moment you stop seeing yourself as a servant of the system is the moment you start designing your own. You don't have to burn it down. Just step out. You don't have to fight the world to win. You just have to stop believing in the story it told you. This is just the way it is. Because it isn't. There are people living in complete freedom, time freedom, financial freedom, creative freedom, Not because they got lucky, but because they opted out of the old rules. And now? So can you. This chapter isn't the end. It's the door. From here on, you don't just think differently about money. You think differently about power. About systems. About what you're allowed to receive. Because now, you've stopped playing someone else's game. And you've started designing your own. Chapter 15. The Identity Shift. Read this slowly. You don't get rich by chasing money. You get rich by becoming the kind of person who naturally receives it. Wealth is not something you do. Wealth is something you are. The self-fulfilling identity. Everything in your life right now, your habits, your results, your income, is not just a product of your actions. It's a reflection of your identity. If you believe you're bad with money, you'll behave that way. If you believe money is hard to keep, you'll find ways to lose it. If you believe, I'm not someone who gets rich, the world will organize around that belief. Not because the universe is cruel, but because it's honest. It reflects what you hold to be true. Who are you being? Ask yourself. Are you still being the version of you who struggles? Who apologizes for asking? Who settles to be liked? Who lowers their prices, their standards, their dreams? That version may feel familiar. But that version is not who you're becoming. You're here to evolve. You're here to shift. You're here to rise into a new frequency of self. And that shift begins now. The rich version of you already exists. In some parallel reality, there's a version of you. Calm around money. Confident when asking for what you want. Creative and abundant. Generous and free. Receiving more than enough, easily. They are not imaginary. They are you, minus the fear, minus the programming, minus the old story. And they're not far away. They're just on the other side of a decision. The decision to become them now. You don't wait for wealth, you walk into it. Most people say, once I make more money, I'll feel abundant. But that's backward. The wealth doesn't come before the identity. The wealth comes because of the identity. You decide, I am wealthy, I feel wealthy, I act from wealth, I carry myself as someone who receives with ease. And then, reality bends to fit you. The outer world follows the inner signal. This isn't about pretending. This isn't fake it till you make it. This is being it until it becomes normal. You don't need to pretend to be rich. You just need to feel how you'd feel if you already were. Grounded, clear, relaxed, generous, worthy. From that feeling, you speak differently. You price differently. You move through rooms differently. You magnetize differently. Not from hustle, from embodiment. Try this. Step into wealth now and ask yourself, if I already had all the money I desired, how would I carry myself today? Would you walk slower? Speak more boldly? Ask for more? Say no to what drains you? Say yes to what excites you? Good. Now do one of those things. That's not acting. That's becoming. Your identity is your strategy. You don't need 100 steps. You don't need more hustle. You need a clear signal. This is who I am now. This is how I live now. This is what I expect now. And when you hold that signal, gently, consistently, the world rises to meet it. You don't chase money. Money finds you, because you've become someone it loves to stay with. Chapter 16. The False Divide. Feel into the idea that money is holy. Not in a religious way. Not in a dogma, but in the most real, most present, most embodied way. What if money was not the opposite of spirit, but a form of it? You were likely taught that money is worldly. That wanting it makes you materialistic. That spiritual people should be above wealth. So maybe you tried to separate the two. You meditated but stayed broke. You tithed while struggling to pay bills. You gave generously even when your cup was empty. You thought that wanting money made you less pure, less loving, less good. But what if that's not true? What if money, like love, like breath, like art, is just another way the divine moves? Money is just a frequency of circulation. Think about it. What is money, really? It's energy, movement, circulation. It flows, it exchanges, it grows. When you receive appreciation. When you spend it, you extend trust. When you invest it, you plant belief. When you gift it, you affirm abundance. Money is not a thing. It's a symbol of value. And value is spiritual. So why separate it from the sacred? The more you honor money, the more it honors you. This is where the shift begins. No more crumpled cash in the bottom of your bag. No more swiping your card in guilt. No more avoiding your bank balance with dread. No more treating money like something dirty or dangerous. From now on, you bless it. You give thanks for every dollar that enters. You spend with intention, not fear. You make decisions not from survival, but from alignment. Because when you bring love into your relationship with money, money responds like anything else that's loved. It softens, it stays, it multiplies. Try this. Make money sacred. The next time you receive money, no matter how small, whisper these words. Thank you. I receive you with love. May you bless all who touched you, and all who touch you next. The next time you pay a bill, say, I circulate this with joy. I trust that more is always on the way. The next time you think about wealth, shift from fear to reverence. Because this is not just money. This is life moving through form. And you're a part of it. Money is not the master. You are. When money becomes sacred, it stops being your master. It becomes your mirror, your servant, your reflection. You don't worship it. You don't need to. Because the moment you embody your divinity, money becomes one of the many rivers that flow through your garden. Not the source of life, just one way life expresses its love for you. You don't have to choose. You don't have to choose between God and gold, between enlightenment and enjoyment, between prayer and prosperity. That split was never real. You can be wildly abundant and deeply grounded. You can have wealth without losing your soul. You can love spirit and let spirit love you, in the form of money. Because money isn't outside your spiritual path. Money is part of your spiritual path. When it flows, it reveals where you trust. When it's stuck, it shows where you still fear. And when you welcome it with love, it becomes holy. Chapter 17. Synchronicity and the Field of Possibility. There comes a moment when you stop forcing. You stop pushing. You stop trying to control every outcome. And suddenly, things start to happen. The perfect opportunity shows up. A stranger makes an offer you were just imagining. A door opens exactly where you were about to give up. It feels magical, but it isn't magic. It's synchronicity. Nothing is random. Everything responds. You've been taught that life is linear. That cause and effect are simple. That effort equals result. That outcomes are based on hard data, strategy, and logic. But here's the deeper truth. Life doesn't just respond to what you do. It responds to who you are. Your energy, your frequency, your vibration, your emotional state. That's what writes the code behind your reality. The quantum field is listening. Quantum physics tells us that particles exist in a state of infinite possibility until observed. Your observation, your focus, your belief, collapses the wave into form. What does that mean? It means, your world is shaped by what you expect, by what you allow, by what you believe is possible. The field holds every possibility, but you only experience the one your frequency tunes into. So if you believe life is hard, you collapse that possibility into form. If you believe you're lucky, the universe starts to conspire in your favor. This is resonance. You are a signal tower. You don't attract what you want. You attract what you are. If your signal is, I'm unworthy, then the world mirrors that back. If your signal is, I expect good things, then good things show up in strange and beautiful ways. You don't control the how. You don't control the timing. But when your signal is clear, the field moves. It rearranges. It aligns. It surprises you. And all you have to do is keep holding the signal. Try this. Trace your synchronicities. Think back. Has there ever been a moment when something appeared the moment you stopped stressing about it? A solution that came when you let go? An opportunity that found you when you weren't looking? That wasn't random. That was resonance. And it's proof that you're already tapped in. When you align, the field responds. You don't need to chase money. You just need to align with the version of you who already receives. And once you do, people call you out of nowhere. Ideas come in dreams. Luck follows you like a breeze. What you once tried to force now flows easily. Not because you're manipulating reality, but because you've become available to what was already waiting. Synchronicity is a symptom of alignment. So don't force it. Don't obsess. Don't try to make synchronicities happen. Live your truth. Follow your joy. Show up in your wholeness. And the field will respond. Because it always does. There is no ceiling. The field doesn't say, that's too much for you. You've already received enough. This dream is too big. The only limit is the signal you hold. And as you expand into a clearer, freer, bolder identity, the field opens wider, the flow gets faster, the wealth becomes natural, because now you're not just asking for it, you're resonating with it. Chapter 18. It is easy. Yes, you heard that right. It is easy, but not because you've earned it, because it was always meant to be. You wake up one day and something is different. Not outside. Inside. There's no rush, no panic, no need to push anything uphill. Something in you has softened. And without needing to prove it, you know. It is easy now, not because you figured everything out, not because you worked harder, but because you're no longer arguing with reality. You've stopped resisting ease, and ease has stepped in. You didn't make it easy. You let it be. There's a quiet kind of power that shows up when you stop trying to fight the river. When you stop thinking ease has to be earned. When you stop treating peace like a prize. When you stop expecting wealth to come wrapped in struggle. This is not about being passive. It's about being receptive. You let life support you. You let the answers arrive. You let the money come. You let yourself breathe. And when you do, something miraculous happens. Everything starts working. You don't realize how tense you've been until you stop tensing. The shoulders you always tighten. The breath you've been holding. The invisible fear that says, don't relax yet. It's not safe to trust. But now, you're learning a new language. A new pace. A new rhythm of receiving. You're discovering what abundance feels like in the body. And it feels easy. Try this. Don't rush. Today, try moving 10% slower. Walk slower. Speak slower. Choose slower. Spend slower. Let your body feel what it's like to live without urgency. You'll notice something unexpected. The world doesn't fall apart. You don't miss your chance. You don't fall behind. In fact, you start to lead. Because ease is magnetic. And your energy becomes undeniable. Wealth loves a calm heart. Money doesn't chase anxiety. It finds peace. It flows where there is space, clarity, openness. And the calmer you are, the more power you hold. Not the loud kind, not the fast kind, the kind that says, I don't need to force this. It's already mine. The hard part was letting go. You've done the inner work. You've shifted the story. You've rewritten the belief. Now, you let go. You let go of the habit of effort. You let go of the addiction to struggle. You let go of the fear that ease means weakness. You stop grasping, and grace arrives. It's not too good to be true. You were taught to doubt what feels good. To mistrust what feels light. To back away when things feel too easy. But what if ease isn't a trap? What if it's the truth? What if you finally aligned with the version of you who lives in flow, and this is what it feels like? This calm, this clear, this simple. It is easy now, not because life got easier. Because you stopped fighting it. You're not who you used to be. You don't make decisions from fear. You don't prove your worth through pain. You live differently now. You breathe differently. You receive differently. And because of that, everything is easier. Because you are easier to bless. Chapter 19. Freedom is a decision. Now that you've stopped waiting, you're already free. It's done. You're not waiting anymore. Not for permission. Not for proof. Not for the world to approve your plan. Something in you has shifted. You've stopped hoping it gets easier someday, and you've decided that it is easier now, because you're already free. You don't need more time. You needed this moment. You've crossed the invisible line. The line between waiting and leading. Between one day and right now. Between asking, can I really do this? And saying, watch me. You're no longer living by someone else's calendar. You're not negotiating for your dreams anymore. You've moved into creative authority. The kind that says, I get to choose. I get to build. I get to receive. You're free to do what you want. This is real freedom. Freedom to follow the idea that lights you up. Freedom to walk away from what drains you. Freedom to say yes to beauty and no to chaos. Freedom to receive without guilt. Freedom to succeed without shrinking. You don't owe anyone struggle anymore. You don't need to explain why you want more. You don't have to apologize for stepping into overflow. Because now you know, money is your birthright, and freedom is your home frequency. This is when the magic begins. Now that you've decided, you'll notice something beautiful. You start doing the things you used to avoid. Not out of pressure, out of clarity. You'll begin creating. You'll make the offer. You'll hit publish. You'll show up consistently. You'll speak your price with calm certainty. And what felt hard before, natural. Because now, it's not about willpower. It's about alignment. Here is a gentle warning because there's something you need to know. Now that you've made this shift, you're powerful. Truly powerful. Whatever you stay consistent with now, it will grow. So choose wisely. If you stay consistent with your joy, it will overflow. If you stay consistent with your creativity, it will expand. If you stay consistent with your truth, money will have no choice but to meet you there. You are no longer trying. You are building. So build beautifully. You have the tools. Build the house. You've done the work. You've cleared the blocks. You've remembered the truth. Now, you build. You don't need permission. You don't need the perfect plan. You just need to start. From this version of you. The free one. The ready one. The one who knows, it's already mine. This is not a theory anymore. This is your life now. So pick up the tools. Lay the first brick. Build the house that wealth can live in. And stay with it, because with consistency, everything you touch from here will turn to gold. Chapter 20. This is the last money book you'll ever need. Because you're not the same person who started reading. Close your eyes for a moment. Can you feel it? That subtle shift. That inner click. That quiet voice that says, I've changed. You're not waiting anymore. You're not questioning your worth. You're not chasing what's already yours. You're living it now. And because of that, you'll never need to read another book like this again. You're still you, just a more powerful you. The version of you who picked up this book. They were brave. They were ready. They were tired of struggling. But they didn't yet know what you now know. That money isn't hard. That wealth isn't earned through suffering. That receiving is natural. That your worth is unquestionable. That freedom is a choice. That it gets to be easy now. You've walked yourself home to the truth. And you did it by remembering who you really are. You're not missing anything. This is where the search ends. Not because there isn't more to learn, but because you've stopped seeking from lack. You're not trying to fill a hole. You're not trying to fix yourself. You're standing in your center. From this place, anything you learn is bonus. Anything you apply is amplification. But the core? You've got it. You're solid. You're ready. You have what you need. You've cleared the blocks. You've reclaimed your power. You've remembered that money is a mirror, not a master. You've learned to let it be easy. Let yourself be seen. Let your energy lead. Let money flow without guilt. Let your gifts be the doorway to overflow. You don't need more tips. You don't need another system. You don't need one more secret. You are the secret. And now, it's time to live it. Stay consistent. Stay clear. Stay open. Your power now lives in your consistency. Stay with your truth. Stay with your joy. Stay with the version of you who's already wealthy. And when old thoughts come knocking, smile, breathe, return. You don't argue with the past anymore. You're too busy creating your future. One last thing. If you take nothing else from this book, take this. You are not broken. You are not behind. You are not too late. You are not too much. You are worthy. You are wealthy. You are home. The rest will take care of itself. Go now. Build what's yours. Share your gifts. Open your arms. Receive with joy. Because now, you're free. It's easy. And it's already done. This is the last money book you'll ever need. And today is the first day of the life you were always meant to live. Enjoy.